Welcome back, scholars. You should have just celebrated the amazing impact and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, who is a thought leader and influencer before there were influencers. But my question is, who influences the influencers? Who inspires the inspirers? You know the word. Today we are going to cover Black thought leaders of the 19th and 20th century, W.e.b. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, who without a doubt had an impact on Dr. Martin Luther King's thought process and impact on the world, but also a lot of other leaders and intellectuals in the Black community. My name is Devon Chevelle, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and this is Black Study Snacks. We give you bite-sized knowledge for hungry, melanated minds. Let's get snacking.
Excellence, black habits, this black medicine, everything black chuck.
So you know the culture loves a good feud. Biggie and Pac, Jay and Nas, Lakers and Celtics, Du Bois and Booker T. Washington was the feud of their generation. So let's go through the early life of Booker T. Washington and W.e.b. Du Bois so we can see kind of the differences in their perspective and upbringing. Booker T. Washington was born in 1856 in Franklin County, Virginia, and he spent the first 8 years of his childhood in slavery until in 1864 go ahead, say it. Well, what was the document? What was signed? There you go, you got it. In 1864, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, which freed Booker T. Washington and his family. After being freed, his family moved to West Virginia, where making ends meet was a little bit more important than getting an education. So at nine years old, Booker T. Washington was working in the salt furnace and in the coal mining industry. Just 9 years old, had to make ends meet instead of getting an education. Booker T. Washington did go off to Hampton Institute later on to receive his technical education while also working as a janitor to pay for his education. After he graduated, he returned back home and taught children and adults during night school. His life's work, the culmination of everything that he was really putting his mind, body, and soul to, went towards creating the Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute, now called Tuskegee University for Industrial and Agricultural Education. Shout out to Booker T. Washington. On the other side, we have W.e.b. Du Bois, who was born 1868 after the Emancipation Proclamation. He was born freed to a free family in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. W.e.b. Du Bois grew up in a mostly white community, and he actually grew up with said to be very little prejudice. For his undergraduate, he attended Fisk University, where he started to experience a little bit more prejudice and discrimination. He then became the first African American to receive a PhD from Harvard University, and in 1910 he founded the first civil rights organization, the NAACP. Shout out to W.e.b. Du Bois.
Black habits, this black medicine, everything black chuck, everything black.
So as you can see, both individuals are clear intellectuals and Black thought leaders that grew up with very different perspectives. Booker T. Washington grew up in slavery, grew up in the South, and I'm sure was exposed to that violence and that cruelty, while W.e.b. Du Bois grew up in the North. All he knew was freedom. All he knew was freedom in his family, and he was used to being kind of integrated into white community. So when we look at these two thought leaders, they're having very different perspectives and very different experiences going into their leadership. Thank you for tuning in to today's installment of Black Study Snacks, and make sure you keep on snacking.